This is the Throstle Club with Norman Bartlam and Bob Downing.
Well, hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Throstle Club. Now, this is the programme which looks back at the long and illustrious history of West Bromwich Albion, and we speak to former players and to supporters about their memories of our marvellous club, with a particular emphasis on this month in history, which is January 2026. Now, alongside me, as always, is the man with an excellent form rate, or so it says here, Bob Downing.
Good morning, Norman.
A good, almost a round of applause there
from
Black Country Radio's very own Billy Spakeman. You've been twiddling your knobs as always.
Yeah, you haven't seen me knobs for ages, have you?
Great to see them in this weather as well. And now, today, our first programme of 2026, which is our 34th programme, Bob. So that's not bad, is it?
Yeah,
so,
you can see the lines on my forehead.
And to celebrate that, we've got two special guests. Not one special guest, Billy, but two special guests. And both are the most special guests we've had all year, actually, here today. So a big welcome to former West Bromwich Albion and Walsall defensive pivot, as it used to say in the Argus, Stan Jones.
Hi, Stan. Thank you.
And alongside him is the man who organises all things related to West Bromwich Albion's Former Players Association, Geoff Snape.
Hi, Geoff. Hi.
So there's plenty to talk about on this edition of the Throstle Club. The West Brom Choir there from the Brummy Road, once again getting us underway on this edition of the Throstle Club. Now, it's great to have Stan with us today, and it'll be a great listen for those of a certain era who remember Albion from the 60s, and for younger fans, it'll be a great chance to find out about the Albion back in the days of black and white TV and all of that kind of stuff. So, Stan, welcome to the programme. Just give us a quick summary of your career.
That's it.
You mean from Walsall?
Yeah, from Walsall. You started off with Walsall and before you came to the Albion, didn't you?
That's right. Basically, I was about 16 years of age when the initial contact with Walsall Football Club was my starting point. The beauty of it all was, as a boy of 16 years of age, I had the chance to play in the reserve team at Walsall to start with, and basically, the big plus with it is that I was joining in matches which I would never ever had any idea about getting into unless you were a pro club, and consequently, I came through that period with the playing side of it with people like Jimmy Dudley from the Albion, who were coming out towards the end of his career, and he came to Walsall for 1 or 2 years, and people like him playing by the side, or me playing by the side of them, at a few yards all the while in the game. And I learnt more in 2 games with Jimmy Dudley and people like him. Tony Richards was another person coming from Birmingham. And this sort of experience for me, playing in their company, was marvellous for me, because I'd have no chance of doing anything like that unless you're attached to a pro club. And it was my initial understanding of the game being helped. So consequently, the only way up then was to keep playing on a Saturday in the reserve team. And unfortunately for me, I couldn't sign a pro form until I was 17. and it was only on a part-time basis then, and it was £3.50 a week. And luckily, they paid me travelling money and a meal before the game.
Brilliant. Now, we'll find out a lot more about your Walsall career and obviously your Albion career later in the programme. But let's bring you in, Geoff. So, briefly, tell us just a little bit about the Former Players Association.
Yeah, the Former Players Association, founded in 2003, following a meeting between Brendan Batson and Graham Williams. And then there was a golf day at the Belfry the Albion had, and some of the lads were there, and from that day onwards the Former Players Association was founded. Our main aim is to look after our own. We can talk later probably about some more specific things, but that's basically what the Former Players Association is looking after former West Bromwich Albion players. We also do support different charities, including the Albion Foundation, but the main priority is the sort of fiscal, mental and health of the former players who played for the Albion.
Brilliant.
And they only have to play one game to be a member of the association, one first team game, shall I say, to be a member of the association.
Brilliant. Yeah, we'll find out a lot more later in the programme, I dare say. But first of all, Bob, let's have a look at what's currently happening around Fortress Hawthorns. I should say we're recording this on Friday the 16th of January, just a few hours before Eric Ramsay's first big game at the Hawthorns against Middlesbrough. So there's certainly a few talking points of late.
Yes, there are. A lot of people obviously thinking about it with Ryan Mason, and it was his first job. This is not Eric Ramsay's first foray into management because of his with Minnesota United. I've listened to a couple of interviews with him. I've been impressed by what he said. He seems to have put his finger immediately on the right button, the way he was talking. And we've just got to wait and see. I mean, everything's a learning curve. It'll be a learning curve for the players because he's a new manager. And it's probably a learning curve for him because he's come out of the American Soccer League and he's now coming into the Championship, which some people have said this season is probably the weakest. I think it's not weak. It's hardest, probably. It's of all the divisions, Premier Division, Championship, Division 1 and 2, this season, this is the hardest because everybody's beating everybody else. No, Coventry, okay, are moving away, but you always get the feeling that they could suddenly implode. Ipswich have started to come back. We can only hope now that Albion start coming back because I do believe that by having a manager with his number two and a number two who he's worked with and a number two who knows how they play and how they want to play is going to be vital because I'm afraid I don't think Ryan Mason got that. Certainly with some of the substitutions I think were starting to get a little bit weird. And the one thing that a lot of people have picked up on is a certain young lad by the name of Ollie Bostock, who under Ryan Mason only managed 2 minutes, and that was in injury time of a game, the last 2 minutes. He comes on, okay, he created a goal for Jed Wallace, but the maturity he showed with that penalty that he had to score with to take us through to the next round of the cup, I think showed a lot of mental strength.
Yeah, you'd agree with that, Geoff, I think, with Ollie Bostock?
Yeah, I mean, I went to the game at Swansea. I actually sort of said to someone, God, what have I done in life to have to sit through another 30 minutes of this? Because it wasn't a good game. But I have to say, when Jed came on, the game did liven up, and I was really pleased for him. And Ollie Bostock, brilliant the way he took on that Joel Ward, I think it was, at the full back, crossed the ball, and Jed was there. And I mean, the Albion fans went balmy because that was the best bit of football we've seen for a long time. And but no, it's always very difficult with young players, isn't it? Everybody says, "Oh, well, we should try the youngsters," and then they come on and perhaps they don't look so good, and it can set them back. But perhaps with Ollie's little cameo for 15 or 20 minutes, it might be the thing that's now, and the new guy might say, I'm going to give him more chance. I think it picked up a point actually about Ryan Mason. I've always said, and funny enough, I went to the Jake Livermore, Carl Bartley night last night, and I think Carl Bartley basically said he hadn't got anybody who he could turn to with experience. And I kept saying to people, ideally he should have had someone like Frank Burrows, or that type of person, or even a football director who, like Roy Hodgson or Tony Pulis, who he could just sit down and go through things. And a lot of, Carl was saying last night, he's probably learnt by this at the Albion, that he, his next job, and he'll probably get another job, he'll get perhaps someone with a bit more experience who he can sit and talk to. Yeah. And I think this is probably what the new guys got in this Lawrence.
Yeah.
An older head who's been around a bit, and by the sound of it, they're not always on the same wavelength. They've got different ideas, but at the end of the day, Ramsey has to make the final decision.
Yeah. Right, another positive thing, we're into the FA Cup fourth round.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think the biggest problem the Albion fans have got is the fact that when they say it's over the weekend, because when they get Norwich away, the last thing you want is a Friday night or a Sunday lunchtime. Yeah.
At the time of recording, that's yet to be decided, of course. Yeah. Now, we've got this thing we've got to get off our back about all the away defeats as well. It's becoming a bit psychological, I think, isn't it?
The third round, I mean, the penalty shootout and getting through to the next round might just be the trigger they needed. It becomes something that weighs you down. Every time you go away, you're thinking, another away game. We've got to do so, and it gets to them. It can get to you mentally. And hopefully now that cloud has been lifted to a certain extent, and they can go and play. But it's going to be interesting, with the first few games. I mean, I would have thought that if you could have picked anybody to play on your first game, you wouldn't have picked Middlesbrough. But you'd have had Norwich, which is on Tuesday. Yeah. And I think that may be the time when you start seeing something develop. But it might just be the lift they need.
Yeah. New manager bounce, 2 games on the trot at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. What more could you ask for? Things are going to be looking up, Geoff.
Can you tell me the last time we had a new manager bounce?
Okay, I was just trying to be optimistic.
But no, I mean, to be honest, Bob, I think Borough will concentrate your mind.
Probably, yeah.
And on that basis, I fancy us tonight. I really do. I said as soon as they appointed Ramsey, everybody looked at me. I said, I fancy us against Borough with a new manager. Be interesting to see what side he plays.
Yeah.
Because obviously,
I think that's the one thing everybody's looking at.
Yeah.
Because there were 1 or 2 selections that Ryan Mason made that people started to think, what?
Yeah.
I mean the dropping of Griffiths for Walsmith, and then the dropping of Walsmith for Griffiths. I mean, if you could understand it if they were injured and they were coming back from injury or whatever, but they weren't injured. They wouldn't be on the bench if they were injured.
No, I mean, and you had to look at the stats that were being bounced about between Walsmith and Griffiths. It's. But I mean, some of you go on a strange decision. It's sad to talk about someone who's, was the manager, but one of the strangest decisions was taking Mikey Johnson off at Coventry.
Yeah.
Those. What I felt about Mason was that his substitutions were never positive to turn a result.
Yeah.
He made changes, and we lost to Charlton. The changes were never putting us in a position to win a game. They seemed to be either hold on or we lost the game. Now, somebody said, he's probably an unlucky manager.
Well, you look at the Daryl DK situation. I mean, Daryl DK has been on the bench virtually every game this season.
Yeah.
And he's played about 10 minutes, if that.
Yeah.
And the first thing Morrison does is to put him into the attack.
Yeah.
With Madger. Now, did that ever not cross Ryan Mason's mind?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you could play, you could play DK with Madger, or you could play him with Eggibo.
Yeah.
Eggibo would be probably better because he's got the pace.
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes you, as fans, you're looking at the game and thinking, why isn't DK come on? You know, we need a goal. You know,
Yeah.
he may or may not score, and it's the same with the lads when we sit in the Regis suite. You know, they've played, like Ali Rob's played 600 more games, you know, and he's asking the same questions.
Yeah.
You know, so I sometimes think, well, why can't, if the likes of Ali Rob and Brendan Batson and people like that are saying these things, why aren't the coaches looking at it the same way?
Yep.
Modern game, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
Yep. Right, so that's enough about the modern game, I think. It's depressing me. Let's talk about your era then, Stan. So there was loads of newspaper coverage of you when you started sort of 16, 17, 18-year-old, because lots of stuff around the fact that you were involved with the coal mine, weren't you? And also the same village as Jerry Hitchens.
Yeah, basically, I was just going to talk about that because Jerry Hitchens and Ted Hemsley and Aubrey Haycox, who was part-time, and myself, all in the same street.
Oh, really? Wow.
Jerry Hitchens lived in that house there. There's the road, and there's our house.
I bet there was a few broken windows in that street then, weren't there?
And basically, my mum and Jerry's mum worked in the school canteen. It was
really?
a marvellous, you know, that sort of time to have 3 and 4 players coming into the pro game. And I've always thought, being a mining village, there's at that time of what facilities you got and what facilities you haven't got in a mining village. And basically, there was no showers at the pit, so the blokes come up covered in black dust. If there was a little game going on the sports ground, as they came off there and going to their home, they'd come on the pitch and have a little game with us.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing started the relationship between the younger ones coming through and the ones already down there. But the best part about it was when Jerry signed for Kidderminster Harriers to start with, and then went down to Cardiff, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then came back to the Villa. And I used to talk to him every time he came home, and eventually played against him when he was at the Villa. And I'm fairly certain we won that game or drew it, but I know for a fact he didn't score.
I wonder why that was.
And it was, funnily enough, the Aubrey Haycox's dad, because he worked down the pit and he was on the coal face, he was not got national service problems. And if he could have gone full-time instead of part-time at Kidderminster Harriers, he was certainly a good enough player to have become a league player for a long time. And it's strange how these sort of things come along, and you wonder why there was another half a dozen people in this village in my time, and I felt many of them could have actually had a career in football, but if there was a booze on a Friday night or a dance or whatever, forget the rest of the night for the game night before the game. They, in fact, I think Huddersfield had 2 or 3 of them had some on amateur forms to test them out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it never really got out of the system. But there was a lot of talent at the time.
Mm.
And
Didn't you insist at one stage, Stan, when Walsall wanted to sign you, that you wanted to continue training as an electrician for the mine?
that's true. Basically, when Bill Moore came, he said to me, he said, with your build and your size, he said, you're the centre half, obviously, then with a problem, without a problem, and basically you then found that he said to me straight away, he said, look, you've got a decision to make here. You either stay as you are, or you got to come full time to make any progress in the game. And he was perfectly right. And it was a big thing to become a pro, even though it was when I was 17. It still ended up with me coming out of the pit, and basically the 2 years of my career then starting in the football world, that ensured that I would have, like Peter Billingham did have, national service, and I was probably in one of the last groups of people who were needed in the forces, you know.
Oh yeah.
So
what were you doing in the national? What did you do for your national service then?
I spent the whole of the time at Catterick Camp, and the major who was in charge of all the football sports and boxing and all the rest of it, he made it known that after I'd done the basic training, and luckily that was from March the 23rd to start of the next season, which was in the August time. And so the basic training got me through the first period of national service, where they run you up and down the bloody stairs with brush. Yeah. And I've seen people on their hands and knees with a toothbrush on the stairs, coming up and down to it. But
is that just to give them something to do and instill a bit of discipline?
It's the discipline side.
Yeah.
There was nothing with machinery and that sort of stuff until after you'd done the national service, and in the one in Catterick, it was basically a 6-month job, and at that time you were allowed home about once every 2 months in that first period.
All right.
And in that time, the major, who was in charge of the football stuff and made sure that anybody coming connected with a pro club, Don Megson from Sheffield Wednesday, was in the gym.
That's Gary's dad?
Gary's dad. And he was a great lad for me. And we also had George. No, I forget that. Excuse me.
It was a great time with lots of good memories there from your national service there, wasn't it? Yeah. You were friends with the boxer as well, Johnny Prescott, I think, weren't you?
I'm coming next week. He was in the same base as me, but not in the same signals. And he was a very Birmingham City mad as a supporter, and in fact I think he fought Henry Cooper, didn't he, on Birmingham ground.
Yeah. And he had to fight with Billy Walker as well, I think, didn't he, around your time?
Yeah. And I used to travel back with him to Catterick Camp when he was going back on a Sunday night, where the train left the station at 10 o'clock on the Sunday night, and arrived in Catterick about 6 o'clock in the morning, and in the morning in Scotland, in Yorkshire, and that area is bloody cold up there, I'll tell you. Never mind anything else. And we must have clashed about 4 or 5 times in my career and his there, and I always used to get in the same carriage, you know, in the compartment. And but he's a super bloke. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that did him, he said, when they tried to bulk him up, didn't they? Because there was no money in non-heavyweight stuff. When they tried to make him into a heavyweight, and of course he didn't have the same ability to be as quick as he was and super guy, and it was unfortunate, that was. Mm-hmm. But he's a super guy to have in your court.
Yeah, can imagine.
Yeah.
So it's after the national service, then getting yourself into the Walsall reserves and thing. Give us sort of a day-to-day what it was like being the reserve there at Walsall. You did all the chores and that kind of stuff, I suppose. A
little bit, but not so much as is thought about really in that school, because the ground staff boys coming in from school from the age of 15, 16 can't sign pro until they're 17, or part-time pro till they're 17. So they did most of the day in the stands, getting the stuff off the floor and all that kind of crap, you know, until they're 17 years of age. Mm-hmm. But once that happened, you were then certainly training with the first team squad, and that I think is one of the big things that's happened in football, is that there's no real reserve team football.
Yeah.
Without any shadow of doubt. I mean, looking at the Albion, the youth team sides, if the Wolves were playing there or whatever, there'd be 3,000 or 4,000 people coming to watch the game, reserve team football, and it certainly stopped the steady flow of people coming into the game at a pro level, when the standard of the reserves was thinned down until under 18 or under 21 or whatever it is. But the part of the follow-up of players who were going to make first team players, they used to get this situation with Jim Dudley and Tony Richards and very, very big help for people coming in like me from amateur football.
I'm glad you said that, Stan, because that's the one thing that I've always, as Norman will tell you, it's always something I've gone on about, that the fact that it's now reserve teams. You know, I mean, if people get injured now, and basically you can get a seasoned professional who wants to come back, who wants to get some game time if he's been injured, and he's playing with under 21s.
That's right.
I mean, you look at some of the old programmes from the Albion of the Central League, and the teams in the Central League. Phenomenal. I mean, it was like he was almost first team. He could have been a first team.
Oh yeah.
I mean, certainly, and I know what you're saying about the the local derbies in the Central League, and everybody played on a Saturday afternoon.
Oh yeah.
You would get 8,000 for a local derby in the Central League.
Oh, without any shadow of a doubt.
I can remember as a child my dad taking me up to the Central League matches.
Yeah.
And Stan and I were just talking about it in the car coming across. Players like Bobby Hope at the age of 16 was playing with a first teamer, maybe an England international, who was coming back from injury, and that's where Bobby, as a 16-year-old, got his experience.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see some of the Central League games, and when Dennis Law started with Huddersfield, he was playing in the Central League,
That's right.
and that's the way they develop.
Oh,
Not like it is now.
You see, they're trying to shift people from 18 years of age onwards, who would normally be playing in the Central League, coming back from injury or whatever, and that then that sort of time with this sort of person who plays in the first team, that sort of time is now gone. When you're either in the what is it? They can have five subs now, can't they?
Well, 7.
It's the 7, has it? But that sort of learning time is now. It's not in my opinion an improvement on the chance for kids.
Yeah. Right, let's move on a little bit. Tell us about your debut then for Walsall. You were 18, I think, weren't you? You played against was it Norwich City? Your league debut.
I think that was it part of his flood game?
I'm not sure. Don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know. I can't throw any light on that, I'm afraid.
Oh, very good. But no, it was. Do you know? I'm ashamed to say, but I don't remember a lot about that
Don't
game.
remember.
No.
Yeah. But you were only 18-year-old kid or something. Did you get your family and everybody there? It was a bit exciting day for you.
No, my dad had died early, and it was not. I mean, when you try and get from Highley to Walsall, it's virtually half a day on buses.
Yeah.
I used to go training after school on an evening, and I got to go from Highley to Walsall to Bridgenorth to Wolverhampton, Wolverhampton to Walsall, Walsall to Fellas Park, and that is a tremendous time to get at it. So basically, they used to give me some sort of indication of what sort of running I should be doing and all the rest of it. And I spent most of my time on the pitch at Highley, and then went for the games on Saturday. You know.
Well, blimey.
But it's a totally different aspect now to how it's done.
Brilliant. We'll talk to you a little bit more later in the programme. You're listening to the Throstle Club on Black Country Radio with Bob Downing, myself, Norman Bartlam.
This is the Throstle Club with Norman Bartlam and Bob Downing.
Right, loads more still to come on the programme today. A lot more from you, Stan, when talking about your Albion career. We haven't even mentioned the Albion yet. But alongside us then is Geoff. Tell us about yourself then. How did you get involved as with the Albion? And obviously you were a little kid. Was it your dad taking you down to the Albion for your first match?
Well, I always say to people I blame my granddad and my dad. They were big Albion fans. My granddad had some great stories of his following the Albion, particularly when they played someone like the Villa. And the Albion had won, and they were driving back on the horse and cart, and suddenly ashes would come out the top window. You know, baggies. So yeah, my dad took me to the games. My first recollection of a game was actually Christmas Day 1956 when we played Newcastle. I can't remember the game, but I can remember going, and I can remember coming back home, and Mum had got the Christmas dinner all ready for us. So that was the sort of first. I did want to go to the '54 Cup final. My dad said, "You're too young, you can't go." So I did watch that on television. So, but I suppose my involvement with West Bromwich Albion came when I was a young boy of around 11, 12, I met Bobby Hope and Kenny Foggo, Campbell Crawford. They were staying with Billy and Margaret Mellor, who were big Albion fans. They had a hotel on the Hagley Road. And I was at school with their son Ian. So they, whenever there was, something to do with the Albion, and Bobby and that lot were there, they used to invite my mum and dad and me along and everything. So I got to know Bobby then as a young boy. And then over the years, we became really good friends, and so much so that the gentleman on my right here, Stanley, we used to have a golf game every Wednesday. Bobby Hope, Alan Ashman and Stan Jones and myself. We used to play at Sutton Coldfield every Wednesday afternoon. So, these things built up. And then, so through Bobby, I got to know the lads. And then I did Ali Robertson's testimonial committee. And that's in a way when Tony Matthews brought back the Albion All-Stars. Tony moved off to Spain and I carried it on. And Stan and I were just talking about it again in the car coming along. From the beginning of March till the end of November, we used to have a charity fixture nearly every weekend. And we would travel miles, we every year we would go down to a place in Oxford. I can't remember what it's called, not far from Blenheim Palace. We used to play a charity match down there. We were all over the Midlands playing charity matches. Gary Pendry, Bobby Hope, Graham Lovett, John Osborne was often in goal. Yeah. And then when we couldn't get a goalkeeper, Mickey Kearns from Walsall came and played for us. So, that's sort of how it all developed. And then, as I say, in 2003, we were at the Belfry. Brendan and Graham had talked about forming the Former Players Association. So we sat down at the Belfry. And, they asked me if I would become secretary. We had a committee then, which included Ali Robb, Derek Monaghan, Nicky Cross, Brendan, Graham, myself, and we needed a treasurer, so Norman Westbury. We got in touch with Norman and asked him if he'd become treasurer. So that was 2003, and so I've had a long history with the Albion, and as I said at the start, blame my granddad and my dad. But no, I mean, it's great that my boys follow the Albion. Jonathan, actually, his uncle's Martin Bennett. He's actually taller than Martin.
Really?
But he follows the Albion, and my stepson Tom, he's a big Albion fan as well. So this keeping it in the family.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It's a really good thing because I've been involved with some things that have gone on with the former players, and I know the work you do. A lot of people, though, Geoff, wouldn't know how much you do help the former players. Can you just explain some of that to us?
Yeah, as I said at the start, it's looking after our own. I have to say that the last couple of years we haven't had a call from one of our own. So in other ways we've supported other things. But, I mean, we helped Ian Hamilton. I wish we could have helped Ian a lot more. A number of us actually spent a lot of hours talking to him, trying to make him change his life, but sadly he couldn't. But we tried to help. We helped him financially, sort of thing. Alec Jackson, we've helped. I think it's well known that Ali Brown has had dementia for a number of years now.
Sure. Yeah.
We helped Ali family. They were concerned about him getting lost, so we bought a watch and a tracker system so that they could keep an eye. They knew where he was at any one moment, sort of thing. We've there's others we've helped. Stan mentioned the name of somebody earlier who we helped the wife when he died, sort of thing. She was, sort of very worried about things, and so we helped her out. So we help our former players where it's necessary, where we can. Obviously, we haven't got massive funds, not like the PFA or the newly formed Players Foundation. They're generally the first port of call, but if they can't help, we're there to help. We support the Albion Foundation. We've sponsored a blind lad last year. We sponsored the wheelchair team when they're at St George's Park. We attend all their events, and because obviously they've got a cost, we make a contribution towards that cost when former players go along. Former players, the foundation really can't do events without the former players there. So, it's in every way, the former players are beneficial to match days. Tonight, as Bob knows, there's always 2 players doing a Q&A and 2 players looking after the sponsors and box holders. Actually, tonight Carl Bartley and Jake Livermore are doing the Q&A, and then they're getting their caps at half time.
Oh, good.
So, there's lots of ways that we look after, and we help. We support motor neurone disease. We make a donation annually to the Doddy Foundation. We also have a golf day in aid of Bobby Hope, and any money raised on that day goes to the Doddy Weir Foundation. So last year we made a donation of £300. Prostate cancer we support. Often, you get people coming on and saying, we've got this charity golf day, would you like to put a team in? So we put a team in, it might be £450 for a team, but we know that money's going to a charity. So everybody knows a former player likes to have a drink and a game of golf. That's well known. But we do a lot of things. There's obviously things that go under the radar that you can't talk about specific people and this sort of thing.
But it is a tremendous thing. I mean, I've had the privilege, as I said before, of being with some of them, and I still know quite a lot of the players that I dealt with, and I know how important they feel that the Former Players Association is. And I remember this fella as well.
I don't think Mickey Fudge would mind me saying this. He lost his wife about 10 years ago. And he didn't know Joe Mayo. He didn't know Mark Grew. He didn't know Nicky Cross. He says that those guys have saved his life, because if he hadn't had the Former Players Association, he probably wouldn't have been here now, because he missed his wife so much. But those lads rallied round, and Ricky's involved in everything. He comes to the golf days. They meet up socially, but as I said, they didn't know each other until the Former Players Association. And it is a good thing that every era, Stan's era, Bob Taylor, they all get on. There's no Cyril Regis, everybody's favourite, the hero. He was so down to earth, and he wasn't anywhere special in the Former Players Association. He's
just one of the members.
Just one of the members, and anybody who's played a game becomes a member, and they're treated exactly the same as someone like Ali Robb, who's played 600, and Ali doesn't want to be treated any differently to the guy that's played one game.
That's brilliant, actually. What you've just been saying, because I like Bob got this sort of feeling that the average fan just thought, they're a nice little group that goes off and plays golf every so often and stuff, and did things, but weren't 100% certain of it. So I think if there's a failing, if there is one, that you don't promote that side of it enough. Well, obviously it's the personal side that you've got to be careful of. But
we actually
what you've said today is great.
Yeah, we've just done a promotional video. Adam Hope has got a marketing company, Newman's, and he's done it for us.
Oh, right.
And we launched it at the luncheon we had in November. But we've put it out on social media, so perhaps it's time to do it again.
Yeah.
But there are a number of areas where we do help. But as I say, fortunately, the last couple of years we haven't had any requests for help.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that could change tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting as well about the way Stan came to the Albion, isn't it? Because you were transferred along with Peter Bellingham to help Walsall out of financial problems.
Yeah. Well, the Argus headline at the time, it said, "Hang your head in shame, Walsall fans." And it said, "Poor Gates have forced the Saddlers to accept a £15,000 cheque from the Albion for two talented 21-year-old halfbacks, Peter Bellingham and Stan Jones. And Jones is the man who the Albion hope to groom as Joe Kennedy's successor." So there was a lot to live up to, that, Stan.
Certainly was, and the big thing that I found when we moved, which was not quite the same with Peter, was the fact that Bobby Robson was about to go to London, and until that date came along, Peter kept saying to me, "There's no way I'm going to get in this side, no matter how well I'm playing in the reserves, because they ain't going to drop Bobby Robson for me at the moment." And it was sad that they didn't retain him, and he went to Northampton, and sadly, Bobby Robson then went to Fulham. So if he could have held on a bit longer, he might have been the successor to Bobby in the first team.
Yeah.
But in my case, I've always said that if I had the chance to have somebody to talk to at the clubs, there'd be nobody better than Don Howe. Now, I know when he came back as a manager, some people got on with him, some people didn't. But in my case, when I got in the first team, he was the best coach on the pitch, where the action is, rather than this business of there being a, what am I trying to say here? There's normally a way now in the modern game whereby people are running up and down the touchline, shouting at players, all these arm movements, and that doesn't have any effect at all, because you can't hear it. Somebody's trying to say something to you from 25 yards away, with the crowd roaring their heads off. It's nonsense. But I've always thought the best coach you can have is the guy playing next door to you. I had to go with him when he was playing in the All Stars, and the fact that whenever things were happening on the pitch, in my case with Don Howe, he was always talking to me. If there's nothing going on, he'd say, "Well, wait, going to pictures tonight?" or things like that, And then something happened, and we're back in the football again then. But he was always. I always knew that just behind here, he'd be there. And that certainly too, in the same way that I had got to be certain that I could get behind Charlie Drury when because he was the other central defender with me. they were, of course, they were called right half, centre half, and left half in those days, and it was easier to pick up that sort of contact, and it helped an awful lot in the reading of the game. It made it easier to read the game then, but the difference between somebody who wants to be of help and turns out to be absolutely as good as you can get for help, and I'll always be thought of as the guy who learned from Don Howe.
Brilliant. You're saying about Don Howe could be difficult to get on with sometimes because of the great tracksuit affair, wasn't there?
There was,
at the time. Yeah, tell us a bit about that.
The one with the snow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we took a lot of advice from some of the medical people, not connected with the club, but medical people who were involved with sports development and plays, and we came back with the same solution most of the time. In the cold conditions, it's best to have some sort of clothing between the conditions and your skin. And Kenny Foggo was a classic example at this time. He's only 5'6" or 5'5", and Jimmy Hagan had us running round the pitch in the snow. You see, snow-laden ground, freezing cold. The press lads were all stood on the side with the biggest bloody coats on you've ever seen. And Kenny Foggo's back of his legs nearly went black to look at him from because we were normally in a group.
Yeah, and the point being, of course, you were in shorts.
Oh yeah. And I find it came out in the end that because of the fact that he'd been used to being a very, very, very good asset for Sheffield United when Jimmy Hagan came down, and his apparently the thing that helped him was the fact that he was brilliant at playing the ball in the game, making it on the inside of the fullback. He's a creative player, and if he could get the ball behind their fullback and have an outside right in his sights as well, and basically he thought he could do that everywhere, and he couldn't. He had no way at all that he was going to give up any face, for want of a better word, and on that the way he got out of that action was because of the experience he'd had at Sheffield United, and it went for, well, I think we must have been off for about 2 or 3 weeks that year, wasn't it? There was very bad weather.
Bad weather, yeah.
And
what's it feel like to you to go on strike?
I don't think it actually happened. I think the weather put such a lot of games off, and it was the training side that he insisted on it there. It's and of course it came out with a classic, didn't it? Well, you don't play with things on your legs.
Yeah.
But and funnily enough, his son came to one of the dues at the Albion sometime after.
Yeah.
And he came onto our tail. He walked around and spoke to some of the players, and he said, "I'm not come to say anything wrong about my dad," he said, "but he was an awkward bugger too."
Yeah.
And that's that. he was fully aware of. I mean, Jimmy Higham was a super guy in many ways, and the thing that was wrong with him was he was just that bit too much of visions.
Mm.
But and he said a very good, very common assessment of the games, and he used to say, look, prior to the match, 5 minutes before you went out, he said he used to gather players in front of him and said, look, there's only these crowds come to watch you play football. He said, but they're only interested in what goes on in your 18-yard box and their 18 box.
Mm.
So consequently, what's changed so much now? You can have you could probably have 20 or 30 passes now in the game during the match, where it ends up you're farther away from goal
Yeah.
than the amount of stuff you got.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Well, listen, we've got loads that we could talk about. We're running out of time, so I think what we'll do, we'll record a little bit after this program's finished and use it for next week, for the next program, I think. But for now, inside our final minute, that's been really good, Bob.
Yes, they've been brilliant.
Excellent.
It's great to see Stan. Great to see you.
Good. And of course you, Geoff, as well. Enjoyed it, Geoff?
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
So
I've obviously been a frustrated footballer, but playing for the All Stars alongside this man Stanley, he taught me everything.
what's Geoff like at football, Stan?
Great.
You just want to lift home, don't you? Well, listen, both of you, thanks ever so much for joining us on this edition of the Throstle Club, which is available on Spotify after it's been on Black Country Radio, and it's also been on my website, tntnews.co.uk, and on Black Country Demand, Billy.
Will be on demand, yes.
So there's a great demand. We'll talk a little bit more in a while and use it for our next programme. But for now, for those of you that have been listening, very much hope you've enjoyed the programme, and goodbye.
Live from the Black Country, online, on your mobile,